Chico, once a quiet town where families could settle and thrive, now finds itself at the heart of a growing crisis. The streets once lined with small businesses and tree-lined avenues are now crowded with those who have lost everything. The homeless population here is rising rapidly, and each passing day brings more people struggling to find shelter. This documentary explores the human stories behind the headlines, highlighting how a community once tight-knit is grappling with the reality of a crisis too large to ignore.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know where to go. And I really don't know what the solution could be besides having some place that people can afford to help us get back on our feet.
How did we get here, and what can be done to help? The homelessness crisis in Chico has reached a level that's impossible to overlook. What was once a peaceful town known for its charm and tight-knit community is now marked by a growing struggle.
You know, by being homeless is no easy task, and especially when you have health problems and stuff.
In 2025, Butte County reported over 1,390 people experiencing homelessness, with roughly 1,065 of them residing in Chico itself. The situation is even more alarming when you consider that 40% of these individuals are living unsheltered. Without the basic protection of a roof, they endure extreme weather, facing daily hardships that most of us can hardly imagine. The impact on the community is profound. Neighborhoods that were once considered safe havens now find themselves sharing their streets with tents, makeshift shelters, and people simply trying to survive. Families, workers, and students who were once part of Chico's vibrant life now struggle to navigate a system that, though well-meaning, is overburdened and underfunded. The strain on local shelters is palpable, and the problem is only worsening with time. This isn't just a local issue, it's part of a larger national crisis. Rising living costs and deepening systemic failures have pushed more and more people into a desperate search for housing. But homelessness isn't only about the lack of roofs over heads, it's about the absence of a supportive infrastructure. It's about a shortage of resources, about social inequalities that create a widening gap between those who have a home and those who don't. For Chico, this growing crisis has become a daily reality, one that impacts everyone whether they realize it or not. The town that once felt like a refuge now struggles with the presence of so many people with nowhere to go.
We're limited on housing, and it sucks. I've been out here since I was a little kid.
They want us to leave out of town. They want us to be out of city limits.
We are left asking ourselves a difficult question. How much longer can we ignore the pain and suffering of those living on the streets? It's no longer a question of just housing. It's about how we as a community respond to the deepening crisis right at our doorstep. At the core of Chico's homelessness crisis lies a widespread issue that is affecting cities across the nation: the severe lack of affordable housing. Over the past several years, rent prices have climbed steadily while wages have barely kept pace. As a result, many people find themselves priced out of the homes they once could afford. Chico, once known as an affordable haven for working class families, has become a place where even the most basic housing options are out of reach for many. This housing shortage doesn't just inconvenience families, it directly contributes to the growing problem of homelessness. However, the issue isn't solely driven by economic factors. Natural disasters, particularly wildfires, have made the situation even worse. Take the Park Fire, for example, which displaced hundreds of families. Though recovery efforts are underway, the process is slow and often inefficient. These displaced families not only lost their homes, but now face a lack of shelter space and limited housing options. In a town where disaster recovery is essential, the absence of affordable housing has only deepened the crisis. On top of that, mental health challenges and substance abuse issues are playing a major role in keeping people trapped in homelessness. For some, losing their home is a result of economic hardship, but for others, untreated mental illness or addiction makes it nearly impossible to maintain stable housing or work. These struggles are compounded by a lack of accessible treatment programs and supportive housing options, creating a vicious cycle of homelessness that's hard to escape. The most concerning issue, perhaps, is the shortage of effective social support systems. The resources available to the homeless in Chico and throughout much of the country are inadequate, underfunded, and often overwhelmed. Shelters are overcrowded, and essential services that could help individuals regain stability are simply not there. With so many people in need, we have to ask ourselves, why are our systems not equipped to meet these critical demands? Homelessness in Chico affects a wide range of people, and the faces of those experiencing it are far more varied than most might think. It's not confined to any one age group, background, or lifestyle. Instead, it touches people from all walks of life, each with their own unique struggles. However, there are certain groups who are hit harder than others, and their stories paint a clearer picture of how deep this crisis really runs. A large portion of Chico's homeless population consists of working poor individuals, people who have full-time jobs but still can't afford housing. These are the workers who serve in retail food service and agriculture industries that form the backbone of the local economy. They put in long hours, but at the end of the day, they can barely make ends meet. Even though they're working hard, the sky-high cost of housing has left them priced out of the very community they help sustain. Their struggle reveals the growing divide between wages and the increasing cost of living. Then there are those who have been displaced by the frequent wildfires that sweep through Northern California. Many of these individuals were already living paycheck to paycheck, and when the fires destroyed their homes, they lost everything. The slow pace of recovery and the lack of available, affordable housing have only worsened their situation. These families are caught in a nightmare, battling not only the trauma of losing their homes, but also the overwhelming challenge of rebuilding their lives in a community where affordable housing is increasingly scarce. Another significant group in Chico's homeless population are those struggling with mental health issues and addiction. For many, their homelessness is closely tied to untreated mental health conditions or substance abuse disorders. These challenges make it incredibly difficult to hold down a job or secure stable housing. Without sufficient support systems for mental health or addiction recovery, they find themselves stuck in a cycle of homelessness, unable to break free. These aren't just numbers or statistics. They are our neighbors, veterans, and families people who, under different circumstances, might be living next door. It's time to ask ourselves how much longer we can turn a blind eye to their suffering. The government has taken steps to combat homelessness in Chico, though the problem remains far from resolved. One of the most significant initiatives is the Housing First program, which prioritizes giving individuals stable housing before addressing other challenges like addiction or mental health issues. The idea behind this model is that people are more likely to tackle the root causes of their homelessness when they have a secure place to live. While this approach has seen success in other cities, Chico still faces significant hurdles in scaling it up. Despite these efforts, the reality is that the city's homeless services are severely underfunded and overburdened. Shelters are often full, and there aren't enough long-term housing solutions to keep up with demand. Although the city has boosted funding for homeless services with $112 million allocated for 2025, the amount is still not enough to meet the urgent needs of the growing homeless population. The increase in funding is a positive move, but it's clear that much more is needed to truly address the crisis. This situation is not unique to Chico. It reflects a larger pattern seen across America, where cities everywhere are struggling with rising homelessness and insufficient resources. Local officials are also working to expand temporary housing options such as Genesis pallet shelters, which provide small individual units for homeless individuals. However, these shelters are often underused due to a mix of stigma and mistrust in the system. This underutilization, while many people remain on the streets, highlights a major challenge. How can the city better break down these barriers and encourage more people to take advantage of the resources available to them? As the government struggles to keep up with the growing needs of the homeless population, nonprofits and community groups have stepped in to help fill the gap. Organizations like the Coalition for the Homeless and the Bowery Mission have been essential in providing immediate support to those living on the streets. From offering food, clothing, and basic necessities to providing mental health services and job training, these groups are crucial to helping the homeless survive. However, while their work is vital, it's clear they are operating at full capacity. Local nonprofits rely heavily on donations, grants, and volunteer efforts, but this approach isn't sustainable in the long term. As the homeless population continues to rise, so does the demand for these services. Nonprofits in Chico, like many others across the country, are facing an uphill battle with limited resources. Many shelters are already full, and without sufficient long-term housing solutions, people continue to cycle in and out of shelters or live on the streets during unable to break free from their desperate circumstances. The impact of these community-driven efforts is undeniable, but they can't solve the homelessness crisis on their own. A long-term collaborative approach is necessary, one that involves both government action and continued nonprofit support. The community must keep showing up, but the government needs to adjust its policies to create better housing options, more mental health resources, and clear pathways to permanent stability for those who have been left behind. Solving homelessness in Chico requires a comprehensive approach, one that involves both government action and community involvement. At the core of the issue is the severe shortage of affordable housing. To effectively address homelessness, we must focus on building more housing options that are accessible to low-income individuals and families. This means offering more than just temporary shelters. It requires long-term housing solutions that provide stability and security. A roof over someone's head for a night isn't enough. People need homes they can rely on for the future. Equally important is expanding mental health and addiction services. Many individuals experiencing homelessness also struggle with mental health issues or addiction. Unfortunately, these challenges often go untreated, creating a cycle of instability that's hard to break. By offering adequate mental health care, addiction recovery programs, and ongoing support, we can help individuals regain their footing and prevent them from slipping back into homelessness. This is a problem not just in Chico, but across America, where limited mental health resources exacerbate the homelessness crisis. Furthermore, we need to shift how we view homelessness. Rather than blaming individuals for their situation, we must acknowledge that homelessness often results from larger societal issues. By emphasizing preventive measures like increasing affordable housing, improving healthcare access, and expanding mental health support, we can reduce the number of people who end up on the streets. Tackling the root causes of homelessness can lead to meaningful progress in reducing it, not just in Chico, but across the nation. Living in Chico and witnessing the rising number of people experiencing homelessness, I can't help but feel a mix of frustration and deep empathy. These individuals on the streets are not mere statistics. They are people with stories, dreams, and struggles that often lie beyond their control. It's easy for some to think that homelessness is simply the result of poor decisions, but the truth is much more complex. Many of those I see were once stable, holding down jobs, paying their bills, and living regular lives. A medical emergency, a job loss, or a string of unfortunate events, and suddenly they find themselves without a home. What stands out to me most is their resilience. Despite the immense challenges they face, they keep pushing forward day after day, holding on to the hope that things will improve. Yet society often overlooks them, or worse, stigmatizes them as if they alone are responsible for their situation. But the reality is that homelessness can happen to anyone at any time. The support systems that are supposed to help people in times of need are often either inaccessible or inadequate, leaving too many to fall through the cracks. It's heartbreaking to see so many, especially veterans, single mothers, and the elderly, struggling to survive without a roof over their heads. Homelessness isn't just a housing issue, it's a societal issue of failure to protect and care for the most vulnerable among us. It's time we stop seeing it as a moral failing and start recognizing it for what it truly is. A crisis that demands our collective attention and action. Conclusion. The homelessness crisis in Chico reflects deeper societal issues that need our attention. It's not just about finding housing, it's about fixing the systems that fail to support the most vulnerable people. This is a complex problem that demands long-term solutions, including affordable housing, improved mental health care, and a fundamental change in how we address poverty and provide support. We must always remember that behind every homeless statistic is a person with their own story deserving of dignity and respect. Through collective effort and compassion, we can create lasting change, ensuring no one is left behind.